progression has been really interesting in the sense that it feels natural. That it didn't just come out of nowhere, and then this all of these people started using it. I guess like you had some exposure, you did the government thing, you built a dev shop, and then okay, this is what users want, and I need to build it. I feel like it's a very healthy way of building startups as opposed to growing fast. Crash, we finally got another guest onto the podcast. But it's been a while coming. Followers of the Web3 Normies would have seen us as the people who interview guys, and then suddenly Crash and I have just been kind of talking about our thoughts for a bit because we had a lot to say. But it looks like
and also to add, I don't think it was because we had lack of guests. It was just because we got caught up in a lot of things, so we just wanted to use ourselves as fillers until we could open ourselves up for guests.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, right? But today's guest is actually a homegrown India story. I've followed Ankur for many years now. The first time we touched base was during an accelerator that...
it was back in 2020.
2020, it's like 3 years later. Airchains is something that a lot of people have known about. India's go-to government blockchain guy, which we will have to clarify on this podcast as to what that was about and how it has evolved to where it is now. But Ankur Sinha, why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners of the Normie, and welcome. You are now an honorary Normie with Prash and I. And excited to hear your story. All 5 people who listen to this podcast will hear your story right now.
Would love to be the part of all 5 people Normie group. So, just the crazy journey of blockchain I have been endeavoring into, and it started with very early working with few institutional agencies, working as a dev shop, how we can really make changes in the I actually believed in always delivering today. I was not speculating at that time, and I was delivering today. And what's the best use case to deliver today? That was with institutions. So that was the clear early thought which we had, and that made us reach here, whatever we are doing. So Airchains is a Web3 middleware project. Previously, we were just launching app-specific chains on Polygon, Avalanche, and Cosmos. Now we are evolving towards ZK Rollup SDK, so you can launch your own rollup quickly and scale over it. Coming days, we have launched our MVP, and soon AlphaNet would be live.
Wow. That's nice to hear when a Web3 startup founder actually gives traction updates, as opposed to we are going to do this. So that's always a refreshing change. Ankur, tell us about you. How did Web3 start for you? I know you kind of touched upon it by saying that you started a service agency before this, but how did that even start, and how did that evolve into a product which seems to be growing in leaps and bounds right now?
So I heard Bitcoin about in 2013 first, when dark webs, Bitcoin was getting used, and that time Bitcoin was not a very high value. I was in class 10th. I didn't have much idea. A geek exploring computers, just knew that, okay, you can really use Bitcoin to buy things. There is no need to, physical transfer anything. So that was my first interaction with Bitcoin. In 2018, I was the part of delegation from state government of India to Israel. That's where I first saw, okay, there are mining companies who are mining Bitcoin. There are IDF, Israel Defense Force, how they are actually tracking Bitcoin, how they are forming forensics and around that. And I realized, okay, Ethereum is there, and they are using Ethereum tracking. Then ICO phase was coming up. At that time in 2018, ICO, IEO, those were the new key terms, launching their own token, and things were evolving. I was looking at it, but was not smart enough to compete in that. And in 2020, when I graduated, I started this firm which was working as a service company to work and create blockchain-based projects. And in 2022, we hooked up to a project which realized, okay, we can create Airchains. And that project is still with us. It's one of the first week experiments also, which we did, named Sankalp Taru. It's Asia's largest tree planting NGO. Works with multinationals across the globe for plantations. So that's how it started, and that's how it's going.
Right. So I feel this about a lot of people who have done dev shops, right? Like you get exposure to such a wide variety of projects that it kind of becomes that market research that say other founders kind of do on a secondary basis. But you having helped build people, I can imagine how all of this kind of comes through. Between all this, where did the government thing happen, right? Like, because suddenly you hear a Maharashtra government, conversation that comes up where you guys are involved, just to kind of get our audiences to talk about. And there are a few follow-up questions that I have with regard to that. But tell us about that story, like taking blockchain to a government organization, and that video of you talking to an IPS officer speaking about a blockchain implementation that they had done kind of really went viral. And it was a very heartful moment for all of us involved, saying that, hey, yeah, we know that guy, like he got to this.
Yeah.
But yeah, do tell us about how that happened and how.
It was, in 2018, when I was a student, I was part of the delegation. That delegation gave me a lot of exposure to the bureaucrats in India. And the bureaucrats in India were looking for solutions across blockchain and were not able to trust anybody, because in the name of blockchain solution, people were just adding a blockchain on their dev shop and was not delivering properly, or it didn't have blockchain properly. They were like, they believed in Hyperledger, but they wanted to use the real blockchain thing. What's the blockchain insights? And in that time, we were working on Polygon Edge in 2020, which later evolved to SuperNets. So we were one of the early, participants, as well as innovators, testers of Polygon Edge and SuperNets, the early team who helped build Edge as well. So we realized that, okay, Edge can have a very high edge over these use cases. And they were looking for fresh use cases. They were looking to experiment around. They wanted to literally check how technology can really impact their day-to-day operations. They contacted us, and we reverted them with the solutions we had in mind. And that's how it started. Not just Maharashtra, Telangana, Assam, Hyderabad, Tamil Nadu. There are Chhattisgarh. There are multiple use cases which are coming and which are going to be there, and which had been done already. Himachal Pradesh use case was there with another projects. Another company did a Himachal Pradesh project. So there are multiple projects going on. So actually, the bureaucracy was very keen on what experiments can be done. The states were very keen, and they went ahead and checked on with us and few other projects similar to us who can really deliver. And that's how it went on. And the UP police was, we were first, now the popular STF is there. We were first looking to work with STF, but STF is a very big organization, and they work very differently than the regular government agencies. So it was very difficult to work with them on this technology basis. Plus, they were, actively working on different set of work. They were not very technology focused. STF is the special task force which are doing a lot of activities around in Uttar Pradesh. If you have heard, and there are a lot of OTT series coming out of STF's work. So some officers out of STF went on to be a SP, SSPs, commissioners of other districts, and they thought, okay, now we have space, we have time, let's work on. And that's how they thought. It was a long hours. We gave them good amount of sittings, and a result was out, named UP Police, a police complaint on blockchain. They even gave that domain to us, saying that, please use this domain, don't shorten up or don't anything. Police complaint on blockchain, that's the domain.
Is any of it still live? Is that still live? And do you still track, people do report on it?
It is live. The complaints are getting reported. It doesn't have an explorer, so they actually asked us not to provide any explorer, block explorer, to because it will open up the data to a lot of other things. And there are FIRs which is getting lodged in police complaint on blockchain. I guess it is live. If required, let me show it to you.
Is this, what is the source of truth for something like this? It must be like whatever the centralized team says it is, or like is it like across nodes? Like how does it work? I'm just a bit curious on the source of truth for something like this.
See, it works on a POA basis, proof of authority consensus. It has validators, but it works on a proof of authority consensus, and there are few limitations which cannot be crossed as of now, because you can evolve the IT infrastructure, but the real infrastructure is still in a very different phase to match it up. So you need to be so you can see here copyright Airchain still. So here you can register your grievance. You can check your complaint status. Yeah, the token number is the real hash number, or you could say the number which is issued by the blockchain. It can be checked here. But mobile number is required to verify, because if you can have a token number, you can check out any FIR which is again kept hidden or kept under covers because they are sensitive, or there are very different sensitive informations out there. So this is still it's there and it is being used actively.
Yeah, super interesting. I didn't know of like something like this existing and still being used now. So that's actually pretty awesome. How did how is your experience with like these enterprises and governments working with them, especially in terms of as a business having to monetize them and create something sustainable, and from there you can probably lead to how you went from there into like the current version of Airchains that you have.
And also, before you answer that, this marks the first ever product demo on the Web3 Normies. So thank you.
There are more.
Awesome.
So, Prashanth, very clearly, people say government doesn't give paid projects on blockchain. I have been paid for every time we have worked with any set of institution. It's as clear as that. We have been paid every time. The last 20%, which is always it is always with the government that okay, that rest 10% or 5% which government reserve that they will release after 1 year, that takes a toll. The rest gets clear. So
awesome.
It's always we have been paid, and see, it depends on the type of POC. We have projects which are valued on 5 lakh, 10 lakh rupees, and there are projects which are valued on 1.5 crores, 2 crores as well from government itself. AIMS Delhi recently released a tender. We were not eligible because we are a startup yet. They actually were asking for a 5 crore. They were paying 5 crore for their hiring and few more things on AIMS Delhi on using blockchain. Someone would do it because I know there are a few corporations who have participated in that and they would do it. So there are paid use cases, crazy use cases coming up, and they are very, very crazy. If you go and see them, it's really remarkable what they are doing, like land mutation. People are confusing our use cases, like it's not land registration or anything on blockchain, it's land mutation. So after purchase or sale, whatever the transfer of land ownership takes place, that's on blockchain. So all the records of transfer of land is on blockchain, literally. If it cannot be triggered without blockchain, as of now, the system which is going to be live, you cannot trigger a land purchase without trigger on blockchain. So that's the situations are changing up.
How long ago did this happen? Like, did you see it like kind of increase over time, or was it always that there was a interest from governments that, and we know that a few state governments talk a lot about it, that we're very blockchain forward and things like that, Prashanth. But to a larger extent, based on what you're saying, almost every state government is looking into something like this, and there are implementations that are live and being used right now.
See, the people who talk most doesn't do most, but the people who are talking least are doing most. I have seen the people who haven't talked about it. Assam, you won't believe they are going to grab a regular budget expansion for deaths of livestock. Yani ki asan bhasha mein, whatever the animals which were getting dead, which were the part of regular day-to-day life of farmers or people who were just doing, poultry or anything like farming around that, they were losing huge amount of money because of diseases. And there's something called African swine flu, which affected around 30,000 swine in Assam. Assam is the largest livelihood of swine, and they are one of the largest consumers of pork and other things. So it affected more than, I cannot say exact numbers. It gave them more than 25 million plus jolt on their yearly budgets. So they are using blockchain to really curb it. The project is going to be coming soon.
Did you work on it?
Yeah, we are working on it.
Amazing, right? Real world use cases, man. I mean,
yeah,
these are going to be very, they are actually crubbing up a lot of issues which are there, through blockchain, and you can control the disease through blockchain. When first I heard, I was like, it cannot be done. Then I went on the depth of it, and I realized, oh my God, you can save so much out of it. You are not believing it right now, but you can.
That's lovely to know. I think to think of a service industry that the government is front running for use cases in India for blockchain is pretty counterintuitive to every other narrative that goes on about blockchain in the country. So good to see.
Just very curious there. Usually when governments go for such mandate, they would go to like a Tech Mahindra or a Wipro, Infosys, for these type of services, right? How have you guys been able to position yourselves in front of all of these governments and win these mandates?
We are already partnered with a lot of big names. We are working so that land mutation project is partnered with TCS. TCS is doing the Web2 work.
Okay.
Smart. Yeah.
Smart. Nice.
So Airchains is always partnering with some of the other big dev shops or big service company to deliver the the Web2 material things. We work on the Web3 things for them. We give them the chain. We help them understand, okay, you can scale this. So that's how it is, Now it's, we actually worked with institutions, enterprises, and around 80 plus dev shops in India. They sold blockchain to small scale industries, MSMEs, etc. And around 2,000 plus developers. We saw the highest interest from institutions. They are very keen. There is Raigad, Chhattisgarh. It's one of the biggest. Raigad and Korba are the biggest energy. You could say the coal mines are biggest in there, which gives energy to 1/3 of the India. They actually use blockchain to track their tree plantations. So to check on, okay, how much trees the agencies, or you could say the steel companies are saying they are planting, the district administration is using it to check it. Okay, you are using this square foot of land and this much tree you have planted. Upload a proof. Give a location proof. And then you're taking care of it. Upload a proof 1 month later that you have taken care of.
Who uploads and approves in this process? And who? Sorry,
industries. So JSPL does. Monnet Steel plant is there. Adani Power plant is there. NTPC is planting up. Those people are actually.
And someone has to verify that what is being uploaded is in fact accurate, right? That part is also.
Every photo comes with a location, geolocation, and every geolocation is checked in the previous transactions. And
got it. Nice.
So there are multiple check barriers which have been included, which does that. So actually, then there are dev shops who are working with steel plants to actually cater a large number of supply chain management on blockchain. So we don't have a control over it. Whatever they are doing, we are not pretty much aware. We are just aware that this user has paid to us. That's it.
Nice.
Got it.
Sorry.
Go on, Raghu. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to move to the next topic. If you have any more questions here, you should.
No. I mean, there is a world outside of meme coins and friend tech is what I am learning for blockchains, and it's actually pretty. pretty interesting. One final thing on that. Have you had like any insights on the traction and efficiency improvements out of this for, like, say, in this Assam case or in this Chhattisgarh case? How has it like helped? It was previously X and now it is Y, something of that sort. Has that been reported?
See, there are few cases which has seen bigger efficiency coming up. Like complaints were more. See, you can lodge a complaint on UP Police blockchain, and you don't need to visit a police station to do that. There are options. So there have been not very high rise on complaint, but there is 3 to 4% rise on the complaints. That's not good either, but there are. Then if you go and check on with other cases, so the previously plantations industries used to commit on plantations, but there was no authority and there was no one to check. Okay, there has been plantation done, transaction, whatever they are doing is not verified. Now it's getting verified, checked, and they are some or other way contributing towards what's going the best solutions available to corrupt those irregularities which were being done earlier. Then there are use cases which gives monetary inputs, like the upcoming one I mentioned earlier. It's clearly largely from day one going to be a valuable input for the state agencies. So there are use cases. Steel plants, there are getting benefited out of it. They have more accuracy in tracking their productions, or you could say the supply of production. Once the production is done, how much is getting supplied? There's a mismatch in sometimes supply chain and the vendor, etc., which is getting tracked. So blockchain is impacting a lot of use cases in real, and there are more which is not in real, but let's stick to the in real part here.
Yeah, I guess that
go on.
The next segue, right? Like, because I think we're well and truly kind of coming into this era where we know that the value accrual in the blockchain stack will actually start to happen on the dApp layer more than the infrastructure layer. As infrastructure gets largely used, the revenue and the margins that that infrastructure itself makes in the Web2 world starts to become diminished, and they play the scale game. In Web3, the economics are even more skewed, given that it's most layer ones and most consensus layer projects are public goods, and then the value that is created will be captured at the closer to the dApp layer. This is where I guess Airchains really kind of starts to provide infrastructure for people to deploy that last layer. And you were very closely associated with the Edge project, the Polygon Edge project that then went on to be called SuperNets. What did you learn there? And how there's almost two schools of thoughts right now, right? Like, we will build app chains, and then there are roll-ups that we could go with. So a little bit of your experience in seeing the app chain story unfold at a large L2, and then maybe kind of comparing it to the new landscape that roll-ups are kind of are doing, would be good for the viewer to understand what's happening next in the space.
So whatever happened in Edge and SuperNets lately, we have been a part of it. We have been a very active part of those things out there, and have learned a lot out of it. And you could see that we deployed multiple set of app chains out there, seen multiple people deploying app chains. The huge difference at last always comes at economics as well as the scalability. What length of scalability you want. So I would not say first everyone needs blockchain. No. Second, not everyone need app chain. There are people who need it. There are use cases who need it. There are not everyone who would need rollup, but there are use cases who need it. It depends on the size, on the plans, on the scalability of the usage or the project you want to really scale on. So, to give you an example, we had a discussion with a big, massive project which manufactures cars in India, which has M and S in their starting letters to start off. We had a huge discussion with them on how it can be really, blockchain can be adopted with them. They realize they cannot scale on app chains. They need roll up. We had a discussion with a big airline which has an eagle in his logo uh, with them. And it was very difficult with them because they actually did a use case with one of the studios we were working, and it was not scaling. They were looking how to scale it. It was built on app chains. So there are use cases which need roll up out there, and there are use cases which can be only done on app chains, which needs that level of anonymity or that level of disconnections, where you don't have to create a token liquidity value, or you don't have to make it public, etc. So it depends what set of use cases you play with. So
could you tell us the difference, like what so if I want things to be private and not as transparent but still have a source of truth, then some level of app chain side of things I'll have to go through.
So Raghu were coming in multiple formats. It was a POA consensus app chain. It was a POS app chain. Then it was a POS app chain which was settling data on a larger L1 or L2, not L2, larger L1s, etc. So it was there. You could do that in app chains. But mostly bridging it out of app chains, anything becomes very difficult. Interoperability is difficult. Then you want to really have a liquidity, or you want to, make it a multi-ecosystem thing. You cannot do it. Multi-chain ecosystem, you could say, or a multi-ecosystem thing where you are involved with EVM or with other set of EVMs, as well as Cosmos, or with any other ecosystem as well. It was not doable with app chains. We are still providing app chains because there's a demand for it.
Right.
But we are evolving towards ZK because we think that it is the scalability option which our users need at the hour. We have a huge traction for the people who need rollups in upcoming days. So it is declared as well, and I'm declaring here as well. We will be going with 50 dApps live on mainnet when our mainnet get released.
Can I just elaborate further? Like, what do you mean, like your mainnet and 50 dApps on it, right? Like, if you look at yourself, like, how do you come across the stack, and where do the dApps reside, etc.?
Okay, so as of now, we are working. We had been an app-specific chain providers. You can build app chains using Airchains and deploy on Polygon Supernets, Cosmos SDK, Avalanche subnets, etc. We evolved towards the ZK rollup space, where users can choose their own execution layer. That is SVM, Solana Virtual Machine, EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine, and Cosmos, etc. on there. And then there is a settlement layer, which will be Airchains. Airchains would be acting as a settlement layer where you can settle up your data, and all your transactions would be, users can select their own DA layer and consensus, which can be Celestia, Avail, or Eigenlayer, or Arbitrum. So they have the liberty to choose their DA layer and their execution layer. Airchains would be acting as a settlement layer as well as a bridge between those you could say, the rollups and the world, which could be making it easier for them to move around and do
So
things.
in like, are you with it? I mean, if I had to kind of position you into a category, would it be like roll up as a service? That is where you operate?
We could be fit in rollup SDK or rollup framework betterly.
Yeah. Okay. Who would you call as your main competitors in something like this?
Eclipse is going to be a competitor, and Sovereign Labs, we feel, is going to be a good competition. Sovereign is the only one in the space which is experimenting with ZK as of now. So we are a ZK rollup SDK.
Yeah.
So
So you don't operate on optimistic rollups. It's just
yeah,
ZK based rollups.
yeah, we have started from ZK itself. No optimistic.
Can I ask a not controversial but like a tough question there, right? I mean, again, ZK feels like the end game, and also because Vitalik has said that, it's kind of seen as like a market standard, right? But if you look at the market statistics today, then most of the activity is still on optimistic rollups, right? And while ZK rollups are coming in, they are still a lot more expensive than optimistic rollups, right? And so and most of the traction is also within our Arbitrum and Optimism, at least as of today, right? So why would you not do optimistic rollups as well and just go with ZK rollups?
So, we saw the plus and minuses, and we're not just building Prashanth for today itself. It's going to be a broader, longer picture, which is going to be there. Airchains is going to work with more than 1,000 plus dApps. We are not naming people, or you could say the number of industries. We have checked out the industry. We have talked with a lot of people, and realized, okay, the ZK1 would be a better version for us to go in with the set of use cases we do, or as well as the user base which we have and the user who is going to come to us. So we actually went with, we are partnering with 250 plus dev shops across the globe to deliver Airchains at their end. They gave us an input of what set of use cases they are having and what set of use cases they are looking to onboard on blockchain. And we talked with more than 8,000 plus developers who are either in the industry or are working towards the Web3 or Web2 basis. And we realized, okay, there's a huge traction, and their use cases is going to end up with a better ZK option rather than being a OP option. So we actually triggered with the market, and we went with the ZK, not with the with Alex said end game, but it's the user based review which we chose to went ahead with. Plus, we also have a self inclination earlier also with the ZK before the optimistic one. So both played a very important role. My team had the inclination towards ZK. I was very neutral. So
Yeah.
my team had a very high inclination on ZK, and we chose both the options. Okay, which one to go ahead with, optimistic on what set of rollups we want, what set of use. So we actually hear whatever the user said to us. We actually,
Yeah.
because they are going to use us. If they are not looking to use us, it's waste of time for us. So
Got it.
gave a clear mandate, and that's how it went.
Okay. Just to follow up on that, right? And sorry if I sound like a VC for asking this,
I was
but
just going to say, are you going to cut a check or like?
Happy to have a Woodstock check. No worries.
No, but just expanding on this, and this is also continuation of like, because I was at ETH and I attended the Modeler Summit there, and there was a panel with Eclipse, Conduit, Caldera, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And the thing that was not very clear to me there was what is the business model and how do you monetize this particular business, right? So I was very curious as to like
to one of the founders. This question was asked to one of the founders there as well. I was
yeah. And I think Neil Somani of Eclipse, I think, came out with like an article on this as well recently. It's on my to do, but very curious to get your take on this as well, as to how do you think this gets monetized.
So we are clearly working on an L2. You could say like a settlement layer. Airchains would be acting as a settlement layer. And when we are acting as a settlement layer, there's a utility around token, which would be there. And we have figured out our model, and I cannot comment on the other ones who are there in the space. So it would be working on a regular, gas model that you can spin up your L3 for free. And there would be multiple services can be utilized at staking through Airchains, as well as there would be multiple usage or transactions can be done through tokens, etc. So these are the economics which we have as of now worked. There are multiple other models which we are figuring on to to be there. The tokenomics is not yet there with anyone because everyone is looking at the sequencer aspect, the centralized sequencer aspect, how it is going to affect our landscape, the roll-up landscape, in terms of gas, etc., as well as the involvement of tokens. So those are getting in consideration. After that, the tokenomics would go public, or the finalization of tokenomics would be done. That would impact a large on economics, which is going to be there. But I'm making sure, Prashanth, that our current user base gets it more affordable than it was. Make sure that it's literally less expensive, or you could say affordable enough to use for
Got it.
everyone.
And is there all, like, for your user base and enterprises, etc., is there also like a SaaS model on top of token? No. Okay.
Model. So there would be. We are actually working on. You could say, what's that called? On Meta or something like those projects. I forgot the technical word which is there. So on Meta and furthermore projects like that, we partnered with people off-ramp, on-ramp transaction services to actually avail us. So you don't have to go and start and buy the token from any DEX or exchanges and then come to us. No, you can start using here itself. So we have already partnered with multiple these in India as well as in Asia, and few from US as well for the.
Got it. The other grievance I have with like this entire modular stack is how difficult it becomes to for interoperability across rollups, right? And also, I mean, there is, okay, if you take an individual OP stack, there is a lot of composability within, but if you take OP versus Arbitrum, then it's difficult. If you guys are like offering this rollup SDK or toolkit, etc., and you have also a settlement layer that you guys are working on, do you see a path where Airchains can make this entire rollup infrastructure a lot more interoperable?
Yes, that's the key aim we are working with, Prashanth, making things interoperable. That's a key thing which we keenly are interested in. So we have a lot of traction which really wants to interoperate, but they cannot. Giving you an example, there's a big organization, Big 10, out of that, Big 10 or Big 4, you could say, whatever. They are actually using us as of now for deploying their reward programs, but they want to really shift it towards multi-chain ecosystem, where whichever their country is, it should be favorable to them, whatever the chain is dominating in that region. But they want to use us to be a interoperable system, but app chains cannot do that as of now. Current existing ecosystem is not capable enough to do that, and that's where we actually partnered with multiple organizations. Last night I was having a call with Sunny from Osmosis regarding this itself, that how we are going to work with IBCs and XLR and few more things. So we are actively working to make it easy for our users.
Got it. Okay.
Well, with that, Prash, if you don't invest in Ankur, that's
okay. Nothing said here is investment or financial advice at all. So let me just bring in my banker terminology. and nothing I say here represents what the fund wants to do.
Oh my God.
Sorry, man. Yeah.
Hey, let's get to the
our general counsel's face just flashes in front of me, and then this automatically comes out of my mouth.
I have seen Prashanth in both the phases, very keen.
So it'd be so cool, like if the story goes on, Ankur, that you came on the podcast. Prashanth really liked you, kind of did a DD interview with you. He ended up investing in.
Don't worry, we might.
That's it. Raghu, over to you.
No, but those are really good questions. I feel like where all this is eventually getting to is to look for those use cases where the rollups make sense, and also figure out a way of bringing liquidity into that ecosystem while making it also interoperable with EVM and non-EVM chains. So the value prop is definitely there for those specific use cases that it makes sense to build your own application-specific chain. Not comparing it to the enterprise chains, but in the form of a rollup. And how do you make sure that value comes to it. So definitely,
Raghu, what I feel, the space is dApps will have their own set of small chains, big, small, whatever, however the dApps require. It would be like that, availing like a cloud services. You need a application to scale, you need a cloud towards that. There would be multiple options, whichever suits you best, whichever is in the budget, whichever is scalable, that would be there. So whatever I am building, actually we have learned from what we have done previously, and we have been making sure that it becomes more smoother to the upcoming stack which we are building, so that if Raghu wants to have it, it should be as smooth as like possible, so that you just have to take up your credit card and put your numbers out there and things could be done simply. You don't need to contact a developer, etc. So we are working towards a system like that in a longer run, where it is more ease to use, or you could say you don't have to literally spare more time on creating a roll up or deploying it. Like at times, Prashanth has seen, you have seen how difficult it was to deploy a cloud.
yes,
Now it is a day-to-day activity, switching from one here to there, then sticking up there. So things are becoming like that way in terms of this space as well. And modularity is something which is required for a larger set of adoption of blockchain. I'm not saying it's the ultimate thing. I'm not saying L1s are ultimate things. There are things which can be ultimate, which cannot be. That's debatable. But overall, the ecosystem needs to grow. More and more people needs to join it. And as a technology, it should scale with the economics around it.
Also, Ankur, I really like you now, because when you wanted to ask, say that, how difficult it was to deploy a cloud, you're probably referring to who's older, and you said Prashanth first. So
That was not the context.
that's a nice thing. No, it is. It's fine. We can be friends.
So, Prashanth has less hair than Raghu.
Yeah, that's
That says he has more than Raghu.
yes, you're right. And I think one of the cool things about the space is that there was a lot of standardization that was thought ground up in Web 2, right? That this is the protocol, these are the core apps, and then everyone's kind of working around it. I think one of the great things about Web 3 is that you have choice. That I may want to settle on one layer, I may want to use another consensus mechanism, I want to perhaps do something else in data availability. And making the choice usable is where I guess your category of apps really makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Before we kind of wrap this out, we really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like your progression has been really interesting in the sense that it feels natural. That it didn't just come out of nowhere, and then all of these people started using it. I guess like you had some exposure, you did the government thing, you built a dev shop, and then okay, this is what users want, and I need to build it. And I feel like it's a very healthy way of building startups as opposed to growing fast and breaking equally fast later on. My question to you is, given all the time that you've spent here and the work that you've done, what would you do differently maybe 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, that's a very difficult question. Haven't thought of it. What would have been done different? See, if I would have been a bit more smarter earlier, things would have been changed. It would have grown more drastically. So, there's no hardcore issues with that, but I feel, exposure for me, it was late. I'm still 24, I'm still young, it's still very early. But if exposure for 22 years old Ankur was there, it would have been a drastic, difference in terms of the scalability in which we are working. That the rest would be same.
You don't come across as a 24-year-old. I'm just saying this, right?
Like people don't take me seriously if I'm 24.
You're on mute, Prashanth.
Yeah, I mean, still not financial or investment advice, but a lot of brownie points have been lost in the last 5 minutes.
Don't worry, I have pretty much checked who all are investing right now.
This one one thing before I forget, wasn't I think this is kind of a googly. Wasn't Airchains previously called Vayupunk?
Man, how the hell you got that? So
We got things, dude.
someone has given you some good insights. So
Yeah.
yes, it was the Hindi name of Airchains. When we started it, it was Vayupunk. Then we we registered. It was difficult for everyone to speak the name. That so we actually made a English name out of it, Airchains.
Pretty much the same. Pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So that's scaled through.
Prashanth, they're just missing a hat and a monocle,
No, take something deeper. Yes, he googled it very deeply.
No, man, it's
Not revealing my sources. Yeah.
No, really, it was someone first. First time in my 2 years of Airchain's thought and delivering and creating, etc. Someone first time told me that it was previously called Vayupunk. Yeah, the early 3 months it was called Vayupunk.
Yeah. Anyways, last question to you. I think on the point of exposure, right? You built this out of India. You did a lot of business in India, which is quite rare for crypto. Have you seen the ecosystem change? Do you think that starting out today is better than what it was 2 years ago, or not a lot has changed?
Definitely. We are the only lean startup in Web3 as of now. We feel. Raghu and we and few more are the only lean startups in Web3. I could clearly say that. And believe me, when I ventured into Web3, it was not about that. It was all about innovation, etc. Now it's turning towards, the scalability as well as the break evens and how you can really, how you are positive around your things you're building, your businesses, etc. So things are evolving, and it's for the better good of the ecosystem overall, what I feel, because it was needed. You cannot just be innovating if you're not, someone is not using your innovation. It goes both ends. So I feel it is seeing both ends nowadays, and it's good to be here now because in upcoming 2-3 years, blockchain space is going to evolve like very differently, whatever we are seeing now.
Exciting, dude. Look, man, I know this has been a long time coming. I'm really glad that we got around to doing this conversation. For those interested in what a VC diligence looks like, please listen to this conversation as to how Prashanth the middle part of this podcast. But dude, more power to you, man. And I really hope that a lot more people kind of go the slow. Let's play it out until something really sticks route, as opposed to saying, no, this is it, and I'm going to have to win at all costs at this pace. I really am excited for what you're going to build next, and
definitely
close eyes on you, and all the best.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. All the best. We've been also in touch for a while, and you've been slow and steady, and one of the first founders who has, product dekho aap mera pehle,
See,
that itself was
we face
pretty
pressure
cool.
too often. So I just give a pretty deck, or you could say pretty product, which is really used. That's the only thing, So one thing to just add before whosoever listening to it, there was a time you could have been in the Web3 space, the idea would have worked, make sense, you could have scaled it. But now build a product first, test it, experiment it, be sure of it. And if you're not passionate about it, don't go and build about it. Because after 1 or 2 years, it's not scalable. And it's very rough. The journeys are very rough. The good thing always come in the last 2-3 years. We have struggled a lot. We have seen a lot. And those lot is very painful. So whosoever building is, if you're literally interested in building, be passionate, then only pain can be taken.
Prashanth, were you talking like this when you were 24?
Hi. Oh, no, man. No, definitely not.
Yeah.
My I don't even talk like my kid does when she's only 9, So
Yeah, man.
I was not even like that. So no, that's good. That's a very sensible advice as well. Yep.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Ankur. This has been a blast.
Thank you.
We should do something.
Thanks. Bye-bye.